Welcome back. Today we have a very special video for you. I have been waiting for this Kickstarter, the Street Fighter Miniatures game, for almost 3 years. And by almost, I mean literally just about 1 month less than 3 years. So before I get to any of this, I do want to ask you, and if you can answer this down in the comments below, what's the longest you've ever waited for a Kickstarter? I'm very curious because this one has been a long time coming. Been a lot of people waiting for this for a very long time, and myself included. And I wanted to do a video. I decided to do 2 videos. I'm going to do some first impression videos. Today is the first impressions video for just the miniatures alone. So I'm going to showcase a few of them, talk about them a little bit, and then show as many as I have here anyway, really quickly with a sizzle reel at the end. Then I'm going to come back in a few weeks after I've had a chance to play the game a little bit more, with a video that breaks down what I think of the gameplay itself. I haven't played it at all. I've watched a couple videos. I've read or skimmed the rules. It sounds pretty interesting for what it is. I mean, it is obviously just a miniatures battle game, so it's not going to have a vast amount of depth, but I'll come back with another video. So without further ado, I do want to get to these miniatures. I'm going to start with none other than Ryu. Ryu is obviously probably one of the first characters you'd possibly think of when you're thinking of Street Fighter. And as you can see in this miniature, they've really done an amazing job. I'll get this right out of the way. My expectations with these miniatures were high, and they've met them. Like I just have to say, I had really high expectations because the Kickstarter campaign itself had these beautiful renders that I thought were next to impossible. And while they haven't met those images, of course, they've come very close, and they've done about just as well as I could have imagined. As you can see here, he's got a nice matte finish and a lot of nice wash on his muscles, plus this transparent or translucent effect on the magic that's kind of swirling up around him as he's preparing his Hadouken. And then as you can see here, take a look at his face. This is one of the things I was most concerned about. And some of the figures are better than others, but Ryu's probably one of the better ones. If you look at his face here, the detail is pretty solid. So that's Ryu. Now, of course, after Ryu, you can't not go with Ken. So take a look at Ken. Very similar detail work. I don't know that his face is quite as good as Ryu's, but it's not bad. It's a little bit of an odd expression, but again, I'm not going to knock it too much. Really cool translucent effect on the fire kind of pouring down around his fist for the dragon punch. Ken, truth be told, I know maybe not everyone's favorite character, but Ken is the one I always played. For whatever reason, his moveset was just like Ryu's. I was familiar with that, and I just liked being a little different and not choosing Ryu. Next up, we've got to go with Chun Li. Chun Li, I'm going to tell you right now, probably one of my 3 favorite figures of the ones that I have right here. And you can see why. The detail in this figure is really amazing. Take a look at her face. They probably spent more time on her face than just about any other figure in the game. It is great detail. And then they've got this amazing effect coming off of her foot. The motion that this really shows is amazing. More translucency on that. And then my favorite thing about this is this sort of wind effect. Around the base here is a really nice touch. Really dynamic miniature. Okay, a couple more before we get to the sizzle reel. I'm going to go with E Honda. E Honda is another one of my favorites. It's Chun Li, E Honda, and one more after that. But E Honda, this is a great one to showcase the base itself. Now these bases are really hefty. It's got some density to them, and it really gives the miniature a nice solid feel. The size of them is great when you're moving them around on the board. The coolest thing about this figure, of course, are the open palms. He's got his hand right there, but then he's got the other one sort of mimicking that effect of it moving really fast. Awesome idea, whoever came up with the concept of how this figure is done. An incredible execution as well. And he's another one where the face, you know what, I might have to hand it to him over Chun Li. The facial detail is really well done on E Honda. And that base, again, is really cool because it mirrors his level in the game. And all of the miniatures have a unique base that is sort of reminiscent of the stage that they played on, or at least the stage that they were most related to. Two more. I'm going to go with my third favorite, and that's Dalsim. He's got, of course, he's doing his yoga flame. He's got orange and blue translucency kind of weaving up around him and twisting around it. The detail on some of his body is some of the most impressive stuff with him. You can see the bottoms of his feet, incredibly detailed, and a lot of nice wash used on most of these figures. Now, there are a couple figures that didn't have the best wash in the world, and I'll point a couple of those out towards the end of the video, but this one is not one of them. This one has great detail. The necklace of skulls is great, and again, he's got the flame coming right out of his mouth. Really, really dynamic pose. And the last figure I really want to show in terms of showing off how well they did was Zangief. Zangief is one of the figures, if you followed the campaign, that they showed a lot throughout the campaign, at the beginning, throughout, and then even afterwards. I think partly because they had a reference point of an amiibo that they wanted to take a look at. This one is really well done. I will say the wash is pretty good. The wash looks like it's better on the front than it is the back, but not too bad. Again, the detail, he's a bigger figure with sort of a bigger face, so it might be a little easier. But you can see the detail on the face, the expression on his eyes, and then if you look really closely, you can see the whites of his teeth on this open mouth, which is really, really nice. Now, there are some great things about these figures, and overall, they're really, really, really well done. Like I said, absolutely meets my expectations, if not surprises me, because as we waited and waited and waited, I kind of feared the worst. Throughout the campaign, they showed some sort of middle stages of where they're going with some of the figures, and some of them didn't look as good as what they've turned out here today. But like I said, there is a little bit bad with the good, and one of the ones that I want to point out, at least for me, is Blanca. Blanca is one of those characters that I liked the idea of playing with the game, but I was never really great with him. He had some fairly easy moves. But I was really hoping they'd pull his figure off well. The face is done pretty well. The one thing about this one that I'm a little surprised with is there's really little to no wash on his body. And I think with just a little bit more wash on his body, it really would have helped him pop a little bit more, and it would have maybe softened that green. It's a very, very bright green. And my memory of him was maybe not quite as brilliantly green like that. Let's see. Well, you know what? I can't think of any. Oh, here's a bad one. Now, this is not going to be the case with everyone's figures. This happens to be just mine, so lucky me. But I've got Vega here, and if you can see, well, I'm sure you can, his claws here, he has a little bit of a claw issue. I know the figure is supposed to have basically the 3 claws coming out very straight, and this is going to be a tough thing. I didn't expect them to be necessarily straight, but I also didn't expect to be missing one of the 3 claws. So I like to imagine that he's just in the midst of like maybe extending these claws, which I don't think was a thing in the game. But this little 3rd claw here is not exactly coming out. The facial expression obviously is a bit of a cheat on him since he's wearing a mask. But you can see again, really great effects. Just the choices they've made with the poses and some of these the dynamic use of the translucency in the plastic really makes these things come alive and feel like they're in motion. So those are the ones I wanted to take a look at in a little bit more detail. I hope you liked those close-up looks. I know some of them weren't exactly necessarily all in focus, but I really wanted to get in there really, really tight so you could see some of the details when they were in focus. To wrap up the rest of the video, I will show all of the miniatures that I have here with a little bit detail as we close out. Again, if you have any questions or if you have any comments, or if you can answer my question from the beginning of the video down in the comments below, please do. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.